Hi YouTube, I'm Celeste with Celestial Medicine. Are you interested in seeking a psychic? Have you sought psychic advice before and not had a good experience? Or has it been a mixed bag and you don't know why? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, this video is going to be full of wonderful tips and advice, guidance, and pitfalls to avoid, things to do when going out and getting a psychic reading or staying in your home and getting a psychic reading. How can we ensure we get a good, accurate reading? Stay tuned. Timing is everything. My recommendation is that if you want to call a psychic, let it be during professional business hours when you feel awake and energized and the person that you are reaching out to is most likely rested and also energized, and they have had an intention to work that day as a psychic. Do not bug someone that you know does psychic readings at 3 a.m. and expect a good outcome. And even for yourself, if you've been up all night, just thinking about something or emotional about something and you just can't sleep, it's not a good idea, not a good time to reach out to a psychic. I'll give you some reasons as to why. First of all, if you're emotional, if you're feeling upset or sad or you just can't calm your monkey mind, chances are the person that you reach out to is going to have a difficult time accessing divine guidance because they need your energy to connect to. So as a psychic, we take deep breaths. If the person is of integrity, we take deep breaths, we clear our mind, we clear our field, and then we invite the energy of the person who is reaching out to us for help. And we bring that, I bring that up to spirit. And I say, this is their energy, this is their question. If they are full of emotional energy, that needs to be gotten through. We need to work through that before we can actually discern and receive divine guidance. And sometimes as a psychic, it would take me a longer time to get past someone's emotional upset in order to receive guidance for them. Another reason you don't want to reach out to a psychic when you're feeling super emotional is that you're not going to be receptive to the guidance, because when you're super in your feelings, it's not that you're not getting good advice at the time, but your primary job as a human being is to move through those feelings, is to process that emotion, is to give that the time that it deserves and the time you deserve to feel. And if you try to rush through to a better feeling place before processing, sorry, Esther and Jerry, sorry, Abraham, I do believe in finding a better feeling place, but I believe in doing it organically. I don't believe that people who are going through, let's say you go through a breakup and you're just sort of like in shock, to kind of reach out to someone to get some totally opposite information. Like maybe you feel like, well, it was during a Mercury retrograde, so maybe he doesn't really mean it and we'll get together again in 2 weeks and it'll be fine. And the psychic confirms it. Okay, so good. But you didn't do your job of processing that breakup. You need to try that energy on. You need to feel through what disappointment you have. And the person who you are in conflict with might also need to pick up on the energy of what it is that they did. And if you don't process it, then they don't process it. And then whatever outcome you hope happens actually gets pushed forward because you never did the actual living part. You never actually processed. So it's very important to move through necessary emotions and even a little bit of mental anguish sometimes. But what I would recommend is that you meditate to yourself for a little while, get clear on your question, find a time that works for you and works for the psychic, and organize it as best as you can. I understand that sometimes we have needs that are really urgent. Evaluate. This is another tip. Evaluate, do I need a psychic reading, or do I just need shit to change in my life? Do I need to know the future, or do I need help at a deeper level? Do I need a pattern to break? Do I have some kind of experience that just keeps repeating, and maybe the psychic can tell you what's going to happen in the week or the next month or even the next year, but Is this a pattern that is most likely going to continue? So that is on you to, before you reach out to the psychic, say, do I really need this reading? Is this really what I'm needing, or do I need a change in my life? Here's a very important tip, because it's a topic that comes up a lot, and that is, can you afford the psychic? First of all, you have to be good with the idea of exchange. A psychic uses energy. They need some of yours, they need some of theirs, then they can bring the question up to the divine and receive. But this is not the same thing as getting a healing, where as a healer, I just bring in divine energy and it flows through me and leaves me energized. A psychic reading leaves the psychic drained energetically, and so there does need to be an exchange. And if a part of you doesn't feel all the way good about that because of your finances, or you think they charge too much, or you just don't feel right, for whatever reason, don't do it. What's best for you is best for that psychic. But that doesn't mean that they don't get paid. It just means that if it's better for you not to have a reading because you can't afford it, that is okay. Spirit is never going to taunt you with something that you can't afford if it's something that you need. Always remember that. If you can't afford it, you don't need it. And to riff off of that point, another way to ensure that you get a very good psychic reading is grounding. Whatever you can do to ground, whether it's holding on to your boji stones, taking off your shoes and socks and standing in the dirt, exercise, those are some practical ways to ground your energy before you reach out to the psychic. And why does this help? Well, you want information that is actually like useful and pertains to you. You don't want something that's so etheric and fanciful that like it sounds good and feels good, but then you get off like the phone or you leave that psychic's place or whatever, and you're just feeling like, I feel good, but like spacey, and I don't really know what to do. I just feel good. Well, that good feeling might not last very long. So what you want are practical tips, guidance, practical advice, practical information, something that gives you a feeling of groundedness and that you can actually integrate with your day and your life that feels real. The best way to get that kind of information is to have that energy going in, right? To be someone who is a force to be reckoned with. Those are the people that I give the best psychic readings to. Not the people that have been going from psychic to psychic to psychic to psychic and then finally come to me and expect the best reading ever because I have really good ratings, which I did. Besides the point, if you've been spilling your energy out to all these different psychics and connecting to everybody's energy field, and then you finally get to someone who, you know, you have heard has amazing results, they might not have good results for you because you're not coming in with a lot of strong, grounded, clear energy. Your field might be really scattered. So you're probably going to get like something that's still not very impressive to you. So always remember groundedness. And then another tip, don't just, you know, give your money out to every psychic until you get something that you like. Chances are you're not going to get anything good if your energy is that squandered. Here's a really good tip. Your psychic is not your friend. The more you go to your buddy, your bestie, your cousin, your sister, the less likely you're going to get an accurate reading, because the feelings are going to be of wanting you to feel okay. Those are going to trump the accuracy. So the more detached you can be to the person giving your reading, the better. You want that person to give you advice that is from the highest divine place, your higher self, their angels, God, wherever it is that they receive guidance. You don't want it to be something that's meant to just make you feel better because they don't want to see you in pain and they feel sad for you and bad for you and they don't want you to hate them, and you know, none of that stuff is very useful when you're getting a psychic reading. So my advice would be that unless you're dealing with someone who's very, very professional and really able to detach energetically from your feelings, it's better not to go to someone that you know. And another, you know, note is that don't try to make the person giving you a reading your buddy. Like, that's not going to give you a better outcome or reading. And I had people call me and like think that if they, you know, asked me about my kids or something like that, like that we would be buddies, and then and that would almost like force me to give them good news. Like, that is, I like it when people seem to genuinely care about me, but don't do it to manipulate the reading to get an outcome that you desire. That's just not going to work. Know your questions beforehand. Spend a good amount of time formulating your question before you ask the question. It's just important because on your own, you can gain some momentum, and you can even call in some help from the spirit world. If you really have a question that you've been grappling with for a while and you phrase it very well, chances are when that person calls a psychic, let's say someone calls me and they have had this momentum of the question, the information comes in quickly. It comes in hard, it comes in fast, and it feels really strong. And I love delivering messages that come in very clearly and swiftly and with a lot of strength because, well, I like it. Like, it's easy, and the person receives it, and it all goes very well and doesn't have to take a long time. So just think about that. The more you actually can meditate and get clear on your question, the clearer the answer. Clearer the question, clearer the answer. Try not to get readings during Mercury retrograde. A lot of questions come up within you during this time, so I know that this can be a little bit difficult. And if you're not an astrology person, you might never know when it is Mercury retrograde. But if you check just before you get your reading, just check to make sure, because oftentimes the messages kind of come in a little convoluted, or I would sometimes just not have the right words. And that can make a huge difference when you're trying to give someone a message, when you just can't think of the word, or spirit's like, no, I don't want them to have that information. I want them to reflect. I want them to stay with what they have and grapple with it. Like, sometimes it's not up to the psychic as to whether or not you're going to know something. And the very best psychics will not give you information that they don't have. But one way to really help that is to not ask for psychic guidance and advice when information is just hard to come by on the collective, or we're supposed to get information or gather it in a different way. If you've never talked to a psychic before and for some reason it occurs to you to do it, and you've never wanted to, but you suddenly feel like you should, and it happens to be Mercury retrograde, that's a different story, because that actually might be something new for you that you're supposed to like open up to. But for someone that is comfortable getting psychic readings and does it fairly often, and really wants to get one during a Mercury retrograde, just take everything with a grain of salt, because a lot of things can change, and the messages that come in might just be messages meant to make you think a certain way or reflect on something differently, not necessarily be something that is going to stick. So that's another tip. Stay away from Hollywood Boulevard psychics and psychics on Melrose Place in San Francisco on Powell Street. Just don't go into these psychic boutiques where you see like a chakra, like crystal symbol in the window, and someone, it stinks of like Dracar Noir and cigarettes, and it's like dark, and someone like kind of looks like you're interrupting them, but like, you just trust those vibes, like these psychic shops. I hate to say it, but a lot of times they are set up just to prey on you and to take your money. So look for clean environments, look for bright things. Don't go for things like, just because someone has like a crystal in the window, or you see like a chakra picture, like that does not necessarily mean that person has your best interest at heart. Look at their testimonials. Do they have a website? Are you being referred? Do they have reviews? Do they have a personality that feels like, they're authentic, or that they at least mean well? Just because someone is wearing robes, I mean, I've been told by so many people, that's funny, you don't look like a spiritual person, because I don't dress like a stinking hippie, or dressed to make you think spiritual thoughts, like, because that's bullshit, right? Like, if I was born and raised in Sedona, like maybe I would look a certain way, or if I was like a Sikh, maybe I would wear these white flowing robes, but for the most part, that's like just propaganda. So trust your intuition, right? Like, are you getting a good feeling, and does it resonate with you, or is it something where you just feel like, oh, this is weird. Oh, okay. Oh, what do I do? Do I do this? Okay. And you sort of feel like if that person's being a little bit bossy or talking down to you, like those are not good signs. So don't trust those hit and run psychics, right? So if someone comes up to you you're just waiting for the bus and someone just comes up to you and they're like, you have some darkness in your aura. Did somebody pass? I'm so sorry. Maybe they're right and you just break down and cry. That's what I call like one of those hit and run deals, because they actually might be picking up something real, but it is not in your highest good to be bombarded like that with someone's psychic, information. And the reason being is that it's ungrounding for you, right? You didn't ask for it. You're not in a safe place to receive it. And what they tend to do is tell you something that is psychically accurate, but then they go for like, in order to clear this from you, I'm going to need $750 and I'll give you this like bath to soak in for 3 days, or I'll light a candle for you and it'll go away. That's an old trick that the gypsies use, and which leads me to another point, which is like, just because someone has psychic ability does not mean they're good. So like I said before, get references, look at testimonials, kind of get a feel for that person's energy, and if they actually seem to be coming from a place of goodwill and they make everything kind of clear and they wait to be asked, they don't force a psychic reading on you, that you didn't ask for. Those are all signs of, what the relationship has to offer, and you want honesty and you want balance and you want fairness, you want justice. You don't want to be swindled, okay? So don't fall for that. Honor what that person does. If you want a past life reading and they say they do tarot and they say they're an empath and they say that they are a healer, and you're just like, okay, but I want like a past life reading. Can you tell me who I was? And they're like, no, I mean, I could try. No, that's not the person for you, right? Like, everybody has a different set of skills. Not every psychic can have visions. Not every psychic feels someone else's, physical pain. Not every psychic is going to be able to go into the Akashic records or channel your Aunt Mildred. Like, everybody has different skills and abilities, and so it's best to find out what that person really does, what they specialize in, and go from there. Pay them. It's better to pay before, but always pay after. Don't let a lot of time go by. And there's a really interesting reason for this. It's not just because it's, good business and it's ethical, but if someone has given you some divine guidance or some truths, right? And it felt good and it felt grounding and powerful, empowering, and you don't pay them for that service. What that is saying to the universe and to yourself was that, like, I didn't get anything and I don't trust it and it wasn't really worth anything. And then you have kind of undermined the positive momentum that you have created and co-created with that person, because your future is a co-creative process. So understand that when you are receiving guidance and information, believing it and trusting it and grounding it is your job. And when you decide that you kind of don't really want to pay for it afterwards, or like, maybe I don't have the money, like, that's kind of like uncreating what it is that you've created, and it actually might undermine your manifestation if that's something that you guys were kind of doing together. So I hope this was helpful to you. I have a little link below if you're interested in becoming your own psychic. We're not that special. It's your birthright to be able to access psychic information. You just need to know how to do it. So if that's something that might be interesting to you, please click the link below and see what dates I might have coming up. I have retreats coming up, workshops, international retreats. I have all kinds of things in the mix. So if you are interested in furthering your own psychic development, I encourage you to click the link and go to my website and see what's coming up. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.